How have you felt the communication be week to week the first two games you guys have had in the secondary?
Been good. I feel like the first 2 weeks the guys have played really well, and obviously there's been some very good crowds there, some things to overcome from a loudness standpoint. I think they've done a good job of being demonstrative and being loud with their voices to make sure everybody's on the same page. So I've been very happy and pleased with where we've been at in the back seven, not just the front four, or the back four, but the whole back seven as a whole of communicating and being on the same page.
You guys have faced two really good quarterbacks to start the year. How valuable is that to see those tests early on and kind of to set the tone for a season?
It's good. We've seen some good tests, and I mean at the same time throughout spring ball and fall camp, we got a good receiving core here as well as a very talented quarterbacks here as well. So we've been challenged all throughout the fall with our own team. But yeah, these first two games you come open it up with two teams that like to open it up and throw the ball around, and I think our guys have stepped up to the challenges, and we've had great moments, but we just got to be more consistent and have more moments.
What are you going from last year's game, and how much of that can you apply Saturday night?
Saying last year's game against Western?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, there's a lot of things you look at. I mean, you sit back, you look at how they attacked us last year and what their game plan was going into it. And obviously they have a new offensive coordinator running the offense this year. But at the same time, too, their head coach is an offensive guy. So he's going to sit back and look of what they did. And, through his years of competing against us, even when he was back at Syracuse previously and his times facing teams that were similar to us, and still keep that in mind, what it looked like last year and still being prepared, for what's to come.
Is there a sense of you guys going back, or not necessarily tape, but just a point of hey, this was the team that beat us early on last year. We have to set this kind of tone this year.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter who we play. We're always setting the tone, So obviously you have a bad taste in your mouth from last year and, that Saturday and how that all played out. But, at the end of the day, West Virginia, Tennessee, Western Michigan, I mean, we're going out there to take care of ourselves, and set the tone from the start regardless of who we go against.
Faced two really solid receivers to start the year with Ford Wheaton and then Tillman on Saturday. Where do those two rank in terms of the ones you'll see this year, and what made them, so special on the field when they played against you guys?
Yeah, those guys, Tillman and kid from week one from West Virginia, they were big targets. You know what I mean? They were big guys on the outside. So what we're going to see this week is a little bit different, but they're very fluid. These kids can drop their hips, twitchy, good quickness in and out of breaks. So the guys will prepare us for some of the guys that we will see in the ACC in a few weeks, but a little bit different of what we're facing and seeing this week against Western Michigan.
I think last year's game, from watching from the press box or on TV, it looked like the safeties were really tested by Western Michigan. Is that, what actually happened in the game, and you expect those guys to be challenged again?
Yeah, absolutely. I expect us to be challenged every week, and that's something, we look forward to, and that's a part of, what we do and who we are. They came out there, they had some targets against us last year, and obviously you're preparing for that and, getting those guys ready to go to the field to be tested in the slot. And they like to move their number 4 around, Cory, and they like to give him targets out of the slot. So you got to watch of how they move him around inside, outside, and what they do to try to get him the ball.
What have you seen out of Eric so far in the first two games and his growth and maturity as a player?
Yeah, I think, and I think you guys asked me this about him at the beginning of camp, of just where he was from the beginning of the season to the end of the season. And, you talk about the experience, you talk about the reps. Then as experience and reps comes confidence. Right? The more you do something, the more confident you are. So you see that carrying over from the bowl game, from the ACC championship, and you see that in these first two games because he's had some targets at him. Jalen Hyatt is a fast runner out of slot. Kid was a 10-2 out of high school, and you see Eric sit down in there, be patient, challenge him, and run foot for foot with him or step for step with him. So I think you've seen him to continue to roll over that confidence in these first two games of how he's played.
Can you tell these guys are seasoned players, even if you didn't know who they were? I mean, they're playing experienced guys, your safeties.
Yeah, I mean, they've done well, but we still got to be better. When that ball's in there, we got to go get the football. We got to attack that reception area, harder and more aggressive to go get it, to create those takeaways, to give the ball back to our offense, create better field position, shorter fields for those guys. From a communication standpoint, those things we've done very well. We've been tackling, our angles have been better, but just stronger finishes. We got to finish stronger in everything we do with that ball in there, or just aggressive finish on ball carriers as well.
What have you seen from the guys behind your starters, Judd, PJ, and how they've filled in? How have they been growing into this year?
Good. They've been growing. I mean, if you see, there's been 3 guys with reps. Javon got a few reps in the first game at the end of the game against West Virginia. I think Judd had 7 reps that game, 9 reps as well. Then this previous game against Tennessee, Judd was in double digit reps, and PJ got reps. Then even so, you see PJ, I mean, the kid blocked a punt. Then I know there was a muff, but he created that takeaway in the sense of that's muff. Then he tackled the returner. Then our center Brian Floyd got down there and got it. So even from that, you see development out of PJ, not only defensively, but special teams of where he's coming around. So you've seen that of those guys getting more reps and, continue to come along with their growth and get more experience for them as well.
1 or 2 more for Coach Sanders?
Is that something of the tempo Tennessee uses? I mean, I think you guys rotated a ton on defense overall. Would you expect to keep working them in as the season goes on? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. You can't just play the same guys all day, every game. So absolutely, the plan is, to continue to get guys coming along. So absolutely, you'll see more guys out there as we continue to go game by game. So not just a Tennessee deal.
Kind of a trial by fire to start Ryland's career off. What have you seen from him over these first 2 weeks?
Ryland does a good job. He's very, when you talk about fundamentals and technique, Ryland is a sponge. Like, you say something in the classroom and he's coming out there to do exactly that, and really focus on that. So you've seen a lot for Ryland to be a freshman and where he's at mentally and physically within the scheme and technique. So we've been very pleased out of him. He's played a few snaps on special teams, and he's still working with us on the travel squad and what we're doing defensively, and still in all those meetings. So still pulling him along, and you never know when somebody's going to be called on and be ready to go come the season.